Hey everybody, it's Matthew, also known as Mr. Domestic. I'm here to share with you a tip on English paper piecing that's like one of those next level tips, and it's all about pattern matching. What's pattern matching? I've never heard that before. So it's essentially whenever there's a pattern on your fabric that's bigger than the shape, so you want it to extend along a couple shapes like I did here. And then here, the flower was a little too big, so I definitely wanted it to extend, so I did it in a couple of shapes. I'll show you on the back too. Oh, look at all the shapes! So, if you want to learn some next level tips, and that's what you're here for, then stick around. Okay, this video is all about pattern matching and English paper piecing. And essentially what pattern matching is move this out of the way. If you find something on the fabric that is bigger than the shape, but you still want to use it, so you want to extend it onto two shapes. That's what this video is all about. So the tools that you need, you'll need your shapes. I'm using 3-inch squares. You'll need a ruler and a rotary cutter to cut out. You'll need your glue pen. I like to glue baste, so you'll need your glue pen for basting. And then I'm using a Clover Blue Taylor's chalk to mark, but you could use an erasable pen, you could use a pencil, any other kind of chalk, whatever you have around you. No need to go buy something. So this is the shape that I'm going for, is this beautiful, beautiful flower. And one thing you can, I'm kind of making fun right here, but I wouldn't judge you if you actually chose to do this, is if you took some tape and just taped the two together and then just cut around it. If you did that sparingly in your project, no one would really know. I wouldn't judge it, so feel free to do that. But for me, I like to go the extra mile when I do pattern matching to make sure that I can sew the shape onto the other shape, because it kind of makes me feel like a baller whenever I do it. So that's why I prefer to take these extra steps and then sew them together to make them look like I didn't cut them first. We're kind of an odd people that we like to cut up fabric and then sew it back together how we originally found it, but that's essentially what we're doing here. So you can even estimate the midline here, and you want to find a print that has a repeat that's not too large. I measured this, and the repeat of this pattern right here is about 10 inches, and by repeat it's when you'll see this again on the fabric. So I'm using a fat quarter here, and this is fat quarter friendly whenever merging two shapes together to create the original picture that you had on there. So I'll estimate here. It doesn't really matter because I'm going to use the basted shape to find the other half, and then I just cut it out. Remember to cut away from yourself. I'm kind of cutting away from myself. If you want to judge my cutting, go ahead. And then I like a 1/4-inch seam allowance whenever I'm doing English paper piecing. And here, cutting away from myself. Stay close to, ta-da, I did it, yay! So I cut out one square. So now I'm going to baste this onto the shape. I'm not going to show it in the video, and then I'll move on to the next step. Okay, so I basted the square, the fabric, on the 3-inch square, and I pressed the edge with the steam iron on this side just so that it's as flat and this is as narrow as possible. And now I'm going to match it over the same pattern that I found elsewhere on the fat quarter and match it up perfectly, or as perfect as I feel like doing. I strive for 95% perfection. I don't strive for 100% perfection in my projects, so that's what I'll strive for here. And there, it looks pretty close to me, and then that's when I grab my Taylor's chalk. It's still pretty sharp on the edge, and I'll mark it right up there. And then I'll mark the top and the bottom right there, just so that I know where it is. And then I'm going to use this just for the shape of it. Flip it over and then cut the other half off. And that's why I had the top right here on the marking, so that I could align this top edge up whenever I cut it. So I'll cut this seam allowance. Still doing a 1/4-inch seam allowance. See if I can cut away from myself. Without moving. I don't have my rotator thingy. Judge me. Judge me. It's fine. You can judge me. There. There you go. So I've cut this other shape. And now, this comes the trickery. Okay, so now I have the square that I just cut out. And there's that line that's the original chalk line that's there. What I'm gonna do now is press that. That's why I made sure to use a sharp, crisp piece of chalk. I'm gonna press it with my iron right on the line to make that edge crisp before I put the piece of paper in. Now I'm going to grab my other square and just put it right in there and glue that in there. And then it should butt up against the other one perfectly, or as perfect as I'm happy with. So I put a little bit there. You still have these marks there, but those should be exactly 1/4 inch. So if you can get it right in there, right in between the other edges, you're good. Now before basting the others, I'm just gonna flip it over and make sure that I am satisfied with the results. And look at that. I am indeed satisfied with that, what that will look like after I sew it. So I'll come back in a couple seconds and show you what it looks like all sewed up. Okay, I just finished stitching the two pieces together. I'm gonna open it up. I haven't even seen it myself, so it's like a reaction video. Ooh, look at this. It matches up pretty rad. See, it's not perfect, so you can tell that it was stitched, and you see the seam line. And that's when you become a next level EPPer. So if you're ready to integrate this into your EPP projects, then hopefully I've given you the tools to do that. So hopefully now you're feeling a little next level with English paper piecing. The next time you see a print on a piece of fabric that you want to extend along a couple shapes in your project, that I've given you a couple tips and tricks to make that happen. So if you liked this video or you enjoyed it, got a laugh, then make sure to give it the thumbs up. So keep it positive, y'all. Mr. Domestic out.